Hey there, welcome to Neal at Noon. We're going to do things a little bit different for a few episodes with this series. And what we're going to do is we're going to dive into Dr. Maxwell, John C. Maxwell's book, The Difference Maker. And here's why. I am a firm believer that when there's relevant, valuable information, that it should be shared. And I know that at times like this, our attitudes are so important. Now, this is a very comprehensive book, so it covers a lot. So this is going to be something that I want to make sure that we walk through slowly. Don't worry, you're not going to have to do any reading. I'm going to do the heavy lifting for you, going to lay out a couple of points that Dr. Maxwell has outlined in the book, The Difference Maker. And the very first thing I want to let you know is that I am in agreement with Dr. Maxwell when he says that the saying that attitude is everything, we do not agree with that. And if you believe that attitude is everything, then you may be at a severe disadvantage. Because if attitude were everything, if I just had a positive attitude about being a world-renowned dancer or a world-renowned chef, then that's all it would take. But if you've seen me on the dance floor, or if you've tasted any of my cooking other than hot dogs and grits, you would know that it's not going to happen anytime soon. But there is something about attitude that I would like to read to you from the very beginning of the book. It says, attitude is the difference maker. Attitude isn't everything, but it is the one thing that can make a difference in your life. W. Clement Stone, another one of my mentors that I love reading and studying, said that there is little difference between people, but the little difference makes a big difference. The little difference is attitude. The big difference is whether it is positive or negative. Now, if we're going to be talking so much about attitude, there are 8 things that we are going to cover that helps you identify what makes up your attitude. Where does your attitude come from? Is it something that I'm stuck with for my entire life, or can I change it? What influences my attitude? What shapes, what molds my attitude? And I believe that first we should identify or understand and get a clear definition of what attitude is. Dr. Maxwell says that attitude is an inward feeling expressed by outward behavior. People always project on the outside what they feel on the inside. And you are probably aware of this. You are probably aware that when you feel down inside, you share that in your outward behavior. When you are elated inside, you're walking around and you're sharing that, and you're bubbly on the outside. So we're going to share 8 influences on your attitude. The first one is your personality, who you are. Here's a secret that you might not be aware of. Everyone is different, and everyone's personality does have an impact on their attitude, whether you're cheery, whether you are, sort of gloom-filled, but it does have an impact. Now, of these 8 influences that we're going to share in this episode, none of them are the determining factor, because the determining factor is actually a combination of them all, and the last one is the strongest one of all. So besides your personality, environment, what's around you, your environment will impact the attitude that you have or that you've had up until this point. That's why it's so important to control and adjust and be aware of the attitude of the environment that you're in, because it does impact the attitude that you have. The expression of others, what you feel. What are other people saying in your life? A few words can change the way a person thinks of himself and can change the course of their life. Now, this is important when we're talking about ourselves, but also when we're talking about others. A few words can change the way a person thinks of himself and can change the course of their life. So we want to make sure that the impression or the expressions of others is very, very guarded, because what people say to us can change the course of our lives but then also what we say to others can change the course of their lives as well. Number 4 is self-image, how you see yourself. There was a quote in the book that I just want to share with you, and I hope that it sinks in so that you are aware of the power of self-image. Poor self-image and poor attitudes often walk hand in hand. Dwayne Dyer says, examine the labels you apply to yourself. Every label is a boundary or limit you will not let yourself cross. What labels or boundaries or limits have you put on yourself because of your self-image that you haven't allowed yourself to cross? Is it in your financial status? Well, I'm always going to struggle. I'm always going to live check for check. Is it in your appearance? Oh, well, I'm ugly. No one wants me. Is it in your mental capacity? I'm stupid. What self-image do you have of yourself? What words have you said about yourself, or thoughts do you have of yourself that are putting limits on your life that you're not allowing yourself to cross? And number 5, exposure to growth opportunities, what you experience. Now, I have been fortunate in my life to always have people, to have my parents always push me and expose me to new experiences that would force and encourage me to grow. Hopefully, it has been the same for you, but if not, today is a day that you can make a decision to find new experiences that will help you to grow in life and to change the way in which you think. Now, number 6 is one that we have all heard, whether we understand it or believe it or not, it is true. Association with peers, who you are with. Or in layman's terms, you've heard it, birds of a feather flock together. That is absolutely correct. Who you are with, who you spend most of your time with, has such a huge impact on your attitude. And what you will find is that your inward feelings that may not even be your own, but may be those of the peer group which you surround yourself with, may become your inward feelings, and then they will be expressed in outward behavior. So who you're with is so important. Number 7, beliefs. What you think. What do you think of yourself? What do you think of your neighbor? Okay? What do you think of your job or your children or your spouse? What you believe, paints the picture or colors the frame through which you're looking at the other individual or the circumstances. Every thought you have shapes your life. So we know that with Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, we want to make sure that we're guarding and that we're consciously thinking about the thoughts that we think, because they do determine the outcome of our life. And the last one is choices. What you do. Number 8, thing that influences your attitude are the choices that you make. And it says here, the longer you live, the more choices you make, and the more responsible you are for how your life is turning out. That is a very, very strong and real look at life. And in closing, in this episode, I would like to remind you, to change your life, you must make a choice to take responsibility for your attitude and to do everything you can to make it work for you. So I hope those 8 influences of attitude helped you today. Look at the 8. See where you might need to strengthen or shore up. See where you're already doing great, and see who and what you can do to be better with your attitude. We'll dive in more in the next episode of Neal at Noon. But until then, I love you, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And don't be average. Be world renowned. Peace.